It is time go. Hey guys, this is Stranger Frozen Wish Studios here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today, I am going to be doing a review on Project Hail Mary. So, Project Hail Mary is the latest film from directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who have not done a movie in 12 years. Yes, guys, 12 fucking years. Well, technically directed a movie since they did producers work for a bunch of other movies and within the 12 years of time from, and it came out in the year 2026. Well, technically, it came out last week, or at least I saw it last week. I'll get to that later. And it is based on the book by Andy Weir, the same writer who gave us The Martian, in which was adapted by Ridley Scott. And it stars Ryan Gosling, Sandra Hüller, James Ortiz, Ken Leung, etc. Yeah, there's not a lot of characters, by the way. And the film tells the story of science teacher, Ryland Grace, who wakes up with memory lost. He's in space, and he pretty much doesn't know anything. He doesn't even remember his own name. He's pretty unconscious. So he spends like the first hour of the movie trying to get his memory back, and he gains his memory through a flashback. So the questions that he asks himself are who is he, what's his name, basically, and what is he doing in space, and yeah, pretty much what he's doing and why he's doing it, what's his purpose of being in space. And so we constantly go through flashbacks on Ryland's time on Earth, where Ryland is just a human being a normal person trying to live a normal life as a science teacher. He previously wrote this research article that's pretty controversial and got him fired. But this research article has gotten him to have some attention from this scientist named Eva Stratt, who is trying to find solutions to saving Earth, because the conflict is that the sun is dying. It's being taken over by astrophages. And so she is trying to look for somebody to voluntarily go to space, risk his life, and save the planet. And she has chosen Ryan Grace, but Ryland doesn't want to comply. But eventually he ends up there, but he just loses his memory and stuff. So after Ryan Grace finally figures out like who he is and what his purpose is in space, he comes across this rock alien in which he calls Rocky, who is also on a mission to save the sun after his crew have been killed, including his quote unquote wife, in which in which Grace names Adrian, because Rocky and Adrian, so the two must become friends. They must learn how to communicate properly and get along well in order to team up to save the planet. So yeah, Project Hail Mary. So yeah, where do I start with this? Well, of course, this will be the usual style of my reviews. I talk some background about it, like when it comes to my anticipation surrounding it and stuff. And then I talk about the movie itself. So I first heard about this movie I heard about this movie already way before other people, because I'm like the person who does a lot of research on upcoming movies. I do have my own sites on how I learn about upcoming movies, and so I think it was 2024 when I first discovered that there was going to be a new movie from Phil Lord and Chris Miller called Project Hail Mary, and it was always bound to come out in March, but I think it was originally supposed to come out on March 6th before it got moved 2 weeks later. And so yeah, I've always heard of it, and I always knew it stars Ryan Gosling, but it was really because of the fact that Phil Lord and Chris Miller are directing this that really got my attention, because everyone knows how good Phil Lord and Chris Miller is. They are among the greatest director duos of all time, right next to Anthony and Joe Russo. And their directed movies are just so great. They range from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and then we also got the toy one, the Jump Street duology, 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. Although I think they are both the weakest film from Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Well, particularly 21 Jump Street is their weakest, and 22 Jump Street is their second weakest film. They're still a pretty excellent movies. And then they gave us their best directed film, the Lego Movie, which is still the greatest Lego movie and best Warner Animation Group movie today. Nothing will ever top them. But after 22 Jump Street, Lord and Miller have not directed a movie ever since, and they chose to stick to producing. And I remember that they were originally supposed to direct a solo Star Wars story, but then they both got fired, and they had to find a new director, in which they got Ron Howard. And yeah, I still remember the whole solo Star Wars story production hell, which is why the trailer did not come out until January. Yeah, seriously, why the fuck did we have to wait that late? Well, I've always wondered on why it took so long. I still remember how impatient I was for a solo Star Wars story trailer. But I think it makes sense now on why the movie went through production hell. It was because of the firing of Lord and Miller. But ever since 22 Jump Street, Lord and Miller have been mostly producing movies. They were the executive producers of the two Spider-Verse movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and they will still be executive producers for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I think yeah, they're still gonna do it. Yeah, I think that the Spider-Verse movies are their best work by far, even if they're not directing it. And by the way, people, stop claiming they're the directors of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. No, they are not the directors of it. So yeah, and then came CinemaCon last year. That was when I actually learned more about Project Hail Mary. And it was all thanks to John Campea's CinemaCon report about the Amazon MGM. And then his friend, one of the crew members of the Campea podcast crew, Rob, he was the one who pretty much explained the Project Hail Mary, since he was a fan of the books, and he really wanted he really wanted the movie to be shown at CinemaCon. And then they did show Project Hail Mary at CinemaCon, and Rob was gushing about it, and he even said that it's going to win Best Picture. Although I doubt Project Hail Mary will win Best Picture, surely this is going to be an Oscar contender for sure. Well, a brief spoiler of my thoughts, but I'm not done building up to my thoughts yet. But that was when I was truly anticipating it. But I think I've always had this on my most anticipated movies of 2026 list ever since I first heard about this, and the fact that Lord and Miller have directed it, because are directing it, because let's be real here, they do no wrong. They can do no wrong, and I think they are said to be among the conversation of some of the greatest directors. Well, I'm personally debating if I would consider them as some of my favorite directors of all time, since technically the Lego Movie was their only flawless directed movie out of their director's filmography. Maybe I'm missing something, but yeah. So where was I? Oh yeah. And then the trailer came. And the trailer came as freaking early as June 2025. And keep in mind, they just announced it in CinemaCon in April. So the fact that they released the first trailer for this movie as early as possible, that was You could clearly tell they had so much confidence in this movie and that it was going to be a banger. There was no doubt in my mind that this was going to get rave reviews. This is already going to be one of the most raved about movies of 2025. It certainly was one of my most anticipated movies of 2025. Oh, sorry, 2026, I mean. Yeah, but although in my most anticipated movies of 2026 video, I actually had this far too low on the list. I think it was like a number 9 or 8. Honestly, I kind of regret that. I think it should have been in the top 5 or at least number 6, something like that. When I saw that final trailer that came out in the Super Bowl, it immediately skyrocketed to being among my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2026 list, because that final trailer really made me emotional. It made me hit hard, and it made me just confirm that this movie is already a masterpiece from what we've seen. And so Project Hail Mary comes out and it got freaking rave reviews. It absolutely lived up to the hype, and everyone's hyping it up. Yeah, sure, there are a handful of people calling it overrated, but let's be real here. They're just getting attention because any movie that's hailed as a masterpiece in the modern times, there'll be this group of people who will just hate it just because everyone else loves it. Fuck them. But yeah, I saw Project Hail Mary exactly a week ago while as I'm recording this in IMAX. Yeah. And by the way, guys, this is the most expensive I've ever paid for a movie theater. Usually movie theaters in my area cost like, 300 pesos. I'm using Philippine pesos, by the way. So I mean the cheapest I've ever paid was like 200 pesos. Yeah, because whenever there's like a discount season in one of my cinemas, it's like 200 pesos. Mostly I pay 400 pesos. That's like the standard price for a movie theaters. Which, keep in mind that in comparison to before, it's actually kind of expensive. But actually, for me, it's okay. But a lot of people I know find it that way too expensive. I also paid 500 pesos, 600 pesos. But you know how much I paid for this movie? 990 pesos. That is fucking wild. Because it's not just IMAX, but it's IMAX with recliner seats in the back, which is called premium seats. Yeah, that's how I saw Project Hail Mary. And also there's like this free large bucket of popcorn and free large Coke to accompany it. So there's that. So I have never paid for anything this much before. And yes, by the way, guys, I am planning to also pay. I'm also planning to watch Spider-Man Brand New Day in a movie theater that costs 990, because movies like Brand New Day cost that. And I am also planning to see Frozen 3 and maybe Frozen 4 too in a theater that costs 1,200 pesos or 1,100 pesos, something like that. I forgot. But yeah, that kind of theater, which is called the Wolfgang Steakhouse Premiere Theater. The Wolfgang's Premiere Theater, yeah. Yeah, because let's be real here. Frozen 3 and 4, I mean, they deserve that kind of money because I know they're going to be the best movies ever. So I spent, for the movie that was, the most expensive I ever paid for a movie theater. Is this all worth my money? Hell fucking yes. Project Hail Mary deserves every single praise it gets because this movie is a goddamn masterpiece. I absolutely loved Project Hail Mary. And I think it's a no-brainer to say that this is the best movie of the year so far. Yeah, sure, I did put 28 Years Later Bone Temple above this one, and I thought it wasn't going to top the Bone Temple, but it certainly did. I think everybody, and pretty much 99.9% of the population considers this as their best movie of the year so far. But I know that I have friends who say otherwise and who have a different favorite movie of the year, and that's fine. But I know I'm following the general public's opinion. But let's really hear. I don't think this will stay as my favorite movie of the year for long. There is a 50% chance that Michael could top this as my favorite movie of the year so far. We'll just have to wait and see. But I do know that Supergirl could possibly top this. The Odyssey could most likely is gonna top this. And Brand New Day especially is gonna top this. So yeah, we'll just have to wait for movie season. But when it comes to like spring 2020, like early 2026, yeah, this is like the best of the bunch. Unless if Michael can somehow exceed expectations and top this one. So yeah, now, oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, in my build up to to my thoughts is like other space movies like this one. I rewatched Interstellar in preparation for this movie, and yeah, Interstellar. Yeah, I think those who know me so well might know that Interstellar is my favorite Nolan movie and one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm gonna say after rewatching Interstellar, it is now my favorite live action movie of all time. Although, is it temporary or permanently? Well, we'll see about that. But right now, Interstellar is my favorite movie of all time. Interstellar is pretty much is why I love movies. Movies like Interstellar is why I became a cinephile in the first place. Yeah, sure, you may say what you want about me being a Disney adult, but I'm still capable of being a cinephile. I just have my personal opinions, but Interstellar is such a life-changing movie. I still remember watching that movie the first time, and my life has been changed. And I'm also a huge fan of The Martian. The last time an Andy Weir novel got adapted, and yeah, I mean I love The Martian. The Martian is my favorite Ridley Scott movie. Yes, even over Gladiator or Alien. Yes, it's The Martian. I absolutely love it. It's kind of a shame that The Martian was like felt like the last true masterpiece from Ridley Scott, because after that we haven't had a Ridley Scott movie on the same level as The Martian in god freaking damn years. Well, even if some movies do try, like I still really like The Last Duel a lot. And Gladiator 2, I initially said Gladiator 2 was the first truly great Ridley Scott movie since The Martian, but the more I thought about the movie, the more Gladiator 2 is just decent, not great. It's alright, it's solid, but my thoughts definitely did decline on rewatch. So yeah, fingers crossed the Dog Stars will be the first masterpiece from Ridley Scott since The Martian. Yeah, I'm rooting for him. And I know there are people who prefer The Martian over Project Hail Mary. I personally think Project Hail Mary is better than The Martian, but it is not as good as Interstellar. So you pretty much know my love for this genre, and Project Hail Mary is certainly no exception to that. Yeah, the hype is absolutely real because this movie is every bit as good as they say it is. Lord and Miller have proven themselves to be trustworthy in whatever they do, whether producers or directors. It's honestly insane that when you look at the Lord and Miller's filmography and then they give us this. And honestly, it kind of makes the situation of them getting fired from Solo, A Star Wars Story even more upsetting, because they could have given us like an actual good Han Solo story, but honestly, my honest thought on Solo, Star Wars Story is that I think it is the weakest Disney Star Wars movie. Yes, I'd even take Rise of Skywalker over Solo, A Star Wars Story. Yes, guys, I will review Solo, A Star Wars Story, The Force Awakens, and The Rise of Skywalker in May in preparation for The Mandalorian Grogu, because I have not forgotten that I still have yet to finish reviewing every single Star Wars movie. And so, by the way, guys, ever since the first trailer dropped, I have been reading the Project Hail Mary book. Now, keep in mind that I am not a book fan at all. I do read novels, but I'm just not really a big fan of doing that. It's not really one of my top hobbies, but I read Project Hail Mary on like this PDF file which is available, and yeah, I instantly loved it. I think it is pretty much the best book I've ever read since Animal Farm. Now I don't know if I caught every single detail because I'm not really attention to detail when it comes to book. But yeah, but so comparing the movie to the book, well, I think the movie is more engaging because I'm more of a movie fan than a book fan. And it's hard for me to imagine a movie that's a book that I end up preferring over a movie. Well, Animal Farm, yeah, well, I'll get to that when that movie comes out. And yes, but even if the movie doesn't completely follow the book, beat by beat, it's actually faithful to the book. Like it actually gets to the point. So yeah, although La La Land is still the best movie that Ryan Gosling has started for me, Ryan and Grace is now Ryan Gosling's best performance. He does truly feel like Grace from the books, and there's no other actor who could have portrayed Ryan and Grace better than Ryan Gosling. Yeah, and yes, guys. Even if La La Land is Ryan Gosling's best movie to me, Project Hail Mary is certainly right up there. I'm actually debating on which I like better, this or Blade Runner 2049. I have to think about that. Yeah, the heart of the Project Hail Mary story is the chemistry between Grace and Rocky. So of course, one of the arguably the main component to make this movie so good, to make this movie absolutely work perfectly, is have Grace and Rocky's relationship just make it perfect, and absolutely. Now I consider Grace and Rocky to be among my top 10 best movie duos of all time. And yeah, Rocky is definitely my favorite character in the film. The fact that this film made me have an emotional attachment to a rock is insane. I don't use toys anymore, but I gladly own a Rocky toy if it can be a thing. Rocky is absolutely hilarious, and the jokes in the movie actually land. And also, there was actually that one time where Rocky, where I actually related to Rocky when Grace made a joke and then Rocky took it too seriously, and Grace like, it's just a joke. Yeah, that's literally me. Like sometimes I have difficulties taking jokes, like identifying as a joke, and when I make a joke, people can't really identify them as jokes. So I guess that's kind of fair. Oh, and it's not just the jokes that make Rocky stand out, but the emotional moments with him as well. Rocky is the true hero of the film. Oh, and by the way, guys, I am going to give away some spoilers, not all, but I will be giving away spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, well, you should have watched it by now. It's your fault. Yeah, there was a scene of peril where Grace was going to go fishing with this ball thingy in this green gas, which I think it might be the astrophage. But then the fishing rod goes wrong, and it causes malfunction on the ship, and the ship gets caught on fire, and Grace tries to stop it by himself, and Rocky tries to help, but he has a hard time doing it. And then Grace pretty much gets knocked out and unconscious, and so Rocky get Grace wasn't able to push the button that can save the ship, and so that can fully rescue the ship, and so Rocky gets out of his ball to push the lever, to flick the lever that will get them, that will rescue the ship. So yeah, without the Rocky, Grace would not have survived this mission, and he would have died for sure. Yeah. Oh, and also there were two jump scares Rocky made, like with the first time being his hand, and when he tells Grace only sees Rocky's hand, but then Rocky tells Grace to move go back to the ship with this puppet, that's his way of communicating to humans apparently. And so Grace apparently gets pulled back into the tunnel of the ship, of the Rocky ship, and then we see like this jump scare of Rocky's full form. I'm not gonna lie, that actually got me. Visually, this is already one of the most stunning movies of the decade so far, and I go as far as saying this is already a lock for the most visually stunning movie of the year. Next year's Oscars is going to be insane for the best visual effects category. I know people are going to expect the Odyssey and or Dune Part 2 to win. Maybe even Godzilla Minus Zero, but I think Odyssey and Dune Part 2 are more likely. But in my personal opinion, I want Project Hail Mary to win Best Visual Effects. And because the visuals are out of this world. The outside of Avatar of visuals, realistic space visuals like this and Interstellar and The Martian are some of the best visuals ever, and it's hard to not to get wrong. I honestly think that the Martian should have won Best Visual Effects over Ex Machina. Seriously, Oscars, you got that wrong. But I will say, if either the Odyssey or Dune Part 3 wins Best Visual Effects at this year's Oscars, I would not mind at all. Because I think they would deserve it. And also the cinematography. Oh man. Now, Greg Fraser is nowadays my favorite cinematographer of all time. I mean, even over Roger Deakins. And Linus Sandgren is right up there as well. But Greg Fraser, his cinematography, man, like, god freaking damn, his cinematography, oh man, like, this guy never misses, and he typically does cinematography on blockbusters, and he never misses. So when you hear the name Greg Fraser as a cinematographer, you know it's gonna be something. Although I do have respect. I respect his decision to not do the cinematography on Dune Part 3, but based on the trailer, I think Linus Sandgren is already doing just as good as Greg Fraser. And I still stand by thinking Dune Part 3 is going to be the best Dune movie ever. But yeah, like all those Greg Fraser works from the first two Dune movies to the Batman, which I gotta admit, I think the Batman has the best cinematography of 2022. Even if it's not among my top 5 movies of that year, I think there are better 2022 movies. I think when it comes to cinematography, if I were to redo my best cinematography award for that year, I would say the Batman that deserves to win. And there's like so many others. Oh yeah, he did Rogue One as well. And yeah, that Vader shot is one of the, arguably the best shots moment in the entire Star Wars franchise. And this one is no exception. It really shows Daniel. It really shows Greg Fraser as the GOAT cinematographer. And man, Daniel Pemberton's score, arguably one of the best aspects of this movie, hands down. Daniel Pemberton is such an underrated composer. His previous work is Across the Spider-Verse, which I hailed as his best score yet. And by the way, Across the Spider-Verse should have gotten a Best Original Score nomination. I mean, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I mean, the Oscars seriously have a huge bias towards John Williams. I thought Daniel Pemberton couldn't do any better than Across the Spider-Verse, but he somehow outdid himself with this one because man, oh man, this movie's score, this is Daniel Pemberton's best score yet. It's so memorable. And there are times when it did give me vibes of the Interstellar score, which Interstellar has my favorite score of all time. How the fuck did it not win? I think Interstellar score was robbed. I mean, seriously, what does Grand Budapest Hotel score have against the Interstellar score? I feel like the score for Interstellar is one of the main reasons as to why so many people love that movie, and I get it. The scale of the movie is as grand as epic, just like how it needed to be. Yeah, sure. Maybe the pacing is slowish, especially when it almost took an hour for Rocky to show up. But to me, it never dragged. It was engaging all the way through from start to finish. The highlight of the story is the way it uses the non-linear structure. It makes it very clear on what the story of the film is, and it's very easy to follow, even for those who have never read the book. And also the movie is accessible for kids as well. I think kids can watch it. Sure, it's not made for kids, but I think kids will like the movie for Rocky. I think kids will love Rocky. I think kids will love Rocky's humor and stuff. But yeah, I think parents, you can take your kids to watch Project Hail Mary. By the way, aside from Ryan Gosling, everyone else in the film were outstanding, too. Especially Sandra Huller. I feel like Sandra Huller was one of the reasons as to why this movie is so good because of her resume. Like with films like Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest, it feels like everything she's in just turns into gold. And Sandra Huller will just constantly keep choosing the best project. Now, I don't consider Sandra Huller as one of my favorite actresses personally, and I don't even think Anatomy of a Fall and the Zone of Interest are the masterpieces that people make them out to be. Although I still really like them, I think they're great films. But she is objectively one of the new defining stars of this generation. And Eva is definitely Sandra's best performance. Oh yeah, and also that scene where Sandra sings "Sign of the Times." I mean, at first I kind of got cringed out by it. I kind of got felt it was cringe. But then when I talked about it on Threads, someone told me that I mean the point of Eva's the point of Eva being out of tune. Well, that's the point, and it's to make Grace engage with it more. Seeing the fact that Eva can sing, but she's actually trying. And then I rewatched that scene on YouTube, and honestly, I appreciate that scene more now. Yeah, I actually appreciate it more now. So there's that. Oh, and this movie is emotional too. I cried 3 times in the movie. One of them is even like 30 minutes in. Pretty much a scene where Grace finds his crew dead, and then he sends them out in space floating. Yeah, that was emotional. And then there's 2 other emotional scenes later on in the film, and obviously you'll probably know what they are so well. The movie will make you think that the film will end in one certain way, which in particular is that Grace will actually die in space. And Rocky too. I think it was pretty obvious that Grace was not going to make it back on Earth because it was already established towards the third act during the Earth scenes that once you accept this mission and there's no coming back, and you've pretty much sacrificed your life. And I guess it makes sense as to why they chose Grace. As one of the reasons is because Grace doesn't really have like a family. Like he just has his dog and stuff. So yeah. But the actual ending of the movie, I love how it actually ended on a happy ending. The fact that Grace was able to find his planet. Grace now lives in Rocky's planet, and we see other rock aliens as well. Yeah, that was amazing. So overall, Project Hail Mary is pretty obviously the best movie of the year so far. It's a true masterpiece that's worth all the hype and more. This is by far and away Lord and Miller's best directed movie, and yes, I would say this even tops the Lego movie, and this is their best work in general since the Spider-Verse movie. In fact, guys, I gotta say this is actually just as good as Into the Spider-Verse. Well, maybe I put Into the Spider-Verse slightly above this one, but it's just as good. Obviously, Across the Spider-Verse will always be the best thing Lord Miller has made. Unless if Beyond the Spider-Verse can manage to top it. So yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a must-watch, especially in IMAX. And the IMAX experience is out of this world, no pun intended. I also heard that the ScreenX experience, the movie is also perfect in ScreenX, so sadly, it's hard for me to access to ScreenX. I have to be in Hong Kong to watch a movie in ScreenX because in the Philippines it's hard to reach ScreenX. But I am planning to watch Supergirl in ScreenX. Yeah, I'm giving, regardless of what I said about ScreenX, I'm giving it a second chance. So fingers crossed, Supergirl will be worth it in ScreenX. So yeah. So as I said, guys, I'm going to give Project Hail Mary off fucking course a 5 out of 5 stars. So also for my review of Project Hail Mary, what are your thoughts on the movie? Would you agree with me that this is a masterpiece, the best movie of the year so far, and the best movie that Lord and Miller have directed? Or do you think that this movie is a bit overrated / overhyped? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my movie review on Ready or Not 2. Bye, guys.